Hi, I'm Adam, 33, and 3 weeks ago I walked out of my own wedding mid-vows because my fiancé stopped the ceremony to live stream. Not joking. Right there in front of 150 guests, the officiant, and me, she pulled out her phone and said, "Hold on, babe, the lighting's perfect." You ever watched your whole future turn into a broadcast? That's what it felt like. We'd been together 4 years, engaged for 1. She's a social media influencer, 180,000 followers, sponsorship deals, the whole content is life package. I'm an architect, steady income, quiet existence, more coffee than charisma. Our relationship was built on opposites attracting until her side started demanding better lighting. Every wedding decision had to fit her brand. The color palette wasn't just for guests, it was for engagement metrics. We cut actual friends to make room for influencer acquaintances who'd post about it. I played along because I loved her, or maybe because I thought love was compromise. My only request, 30 minutes of no phones during the ceremony. Just us. Human beings, not performers. She agreed. Or said she did. So there we are. Outdoor venue, golden hour glow, everything cinematic. I go first with my vows, simple, real, no hashtags. She's tearing up, and I'm thinking maybe, just maybe, we made it through the madness. Then it's her turn. She reads 3 sentences, stops, smiles at her bouquet. I think she's emotional. Nope. She's fishing out her phone. "Hold on, babe," she says, to the camera, not to me. The officiant blinks. Guests murmur. She opens her live stream, turns her body toward the sun, and suddenly I'm watching the woman I love transform into her online persona. Voice higher. Poses rehearsed. "Hey guys! We're literally at the altar right now! Look at this lighting!" The officiant tries to speak. She shushes him. I'm standing there with a ring in my hand while she reads comments about her dress. And that's when I leaned toward my best man and whispered, "Start the car." He thought I was joking. I wasn't. He caught my expression, the kind of calm that comes right before an explosion, and nodded. My best man's a quiet guy, the kind who doesn't ask why when you say, "Start the car." He slipped away down the aisle while I stood there, watching my fiancé spin in circles, narrating our wedding like it was a sponsored skincare reveal. Guests shifted uncomfortably. You could feel the confusion rippling through the crowd. My mom covered her mouth. The officiant looked like he wanted to vanish. And my bride, God, she was radiant and oblivious. Guys, should I do a venue tour after this? Look at this arch, so aesthetic. Someone coughed. A child whispered, "Is he gonna say I do?" I almost laughed. I almost cried. She still hadn't looked at me once. I took one step back. Then another. She was too busy reading comments. "You look stunning." "Oh my God, the lighting." "Where's the groom?" That last one must have been prophetic. I turned, walked straight down the aisle, past the gaping guests and the camera flashes. No one moved. No one stopped me. My shoes crunched on the gravel path while her voice kept echoing behind me, soft and tinny through her phone mic. Out in the parking lot, my best man had the car running. I climbed in, shut the door, and for the first time in months, maybe years, breathed. Through the windshield, I could still see her, a white silhouette against the sunset, waving at her phone. Still live. Still smiling. She didn't even realize I was gone. Not until 3 minutes later, when her chat started spamming. "Where's the groom?" That night, my phone lit up like a fireworks display of regret. 89 missed calls. 412 notifications. Her name, her maid of honor, her mom, her dad, each one a different flavor of "come back." I didn't answer any of them. Slept, or tried to, at my best man's place, surrounded by pizza boxes and silence. When I finally turned my phone on the next morning, her voicemails played like a slow-motion breakdown. Voicemail 1 tears. "Babe, please, I don't understand what happened. Call me back." Voicemail 10 fury. "You left me at our wedding. Do you know how humiliating that was?" Voicemail 20, bargaining. "Okay, I'm sorry about the phone thing, but we can still do this. The venue might let us reschedule." No, the venue would not. I checked. The wedding had technically happened, which meant no refund. 12 grand gone, 6 from each of us. I'd accepted that loss the moment I stepped off the altar. She hadn't. By midweek, she showed up at my job. Security called. "There's a woman in the lobby saying she's your fiancé." Not anymore. I said. They escorted her out while she filmed the whole thing for content. Her post later that night, when you try to love someone who hates your success. Her followers swarmed. DMs full of strangers telling me I was controlling, jealous, fragile. One said I should be ashamed of ruining her big day for clout. Yeah. Clout. That's when I realized she wasn't embarrassed about what happened. She was embarrassed about how it looked. And that, more than anything, told me I'd made the right choice walking away. The chaos didn't stop at social media, it just changed platforms. A few days later, her father called me directly. Old school voice call. Son, he said, I think you two need to talk this out. She made a mistake, sure, but marriage is about forgiveness. She stopped our wedding to live stream. I said flatly. She's young. The internet stuff is important to her generation. I'm 4 years older than her, not 40. I said. He sighed, like I was being unreasonable. You're really going to throw away 4 years over a phone? No. I said. I'm walking away because she prioritized strangers online over the man standing in front of her. Silence. Then the line went dead. That same afternoon, I got an email from the venue confirming what I already knew: no refunds. The cake, catering, photographer, all gone with the sunset. I boxed the leftover wedding favors in my apartment and labeled them. Don't open, expensive mistakes. Then came the last straw. She refused to let me collect my belongings from the apartment we'd shared. Claimed everything was ours. Even my books, my clothes, and worst of all, the framed calligraphy of our vows I'd commissioned as a family tradition. I'd written those words by hand, poured every ounce of meaning I had into them. They were supposed to hang on our wall as proof that love could still be real. She called them shared property. So I did what any architect does when something's been vandalized. I brought in structure. Called a lawyer. Arranged a police escort for a civil standby. Showed up with 2 officers and a printed list of what was mine. It took 2 hours. Every shirt, every box was a debate. When I reached for the vow frames, she screamed. Those are mine! The officer asked. Who paid for them? I did. I showed the receipt. Take them, he said. And as I carried them out, she shouted. You ruined everything. I didn't look back. Because maybe I had, but not in the way she thought. My new apartment smelled like fresh paint and freedom. Tiny studio, no shared closets, no ring lights on the counter. Just one vow frame on the wall, mine, and a second one, hers, sitting face down in the closet like a relic from a parallel universe. That first week, I lived in a strange mix of peace and chaos. Peace because there was finally silence. Chaos because she wouldn't stop trying to rewrite the story. Her social media exploded again. A 15-minute video titled, My Truth, When Love Turns Controlling. She cried on camera, claimed I'd been emotionally abusive, jealous of her success, isolating her from her friends. Every sentence was a half-truth twisted into a weapon. Her followers ate it up. Thousands of comments. You deserve better. Men can't handle powerful women. Stay strong, queen. I got the other side, hate messages, threats, even one claiming they'd email my employer. My boss actually called me into his office. Someone's spreading rumors, he said carefully. I don't believe them, but keep your private life private. Translation: don't bring your train wreck into work. Then came her mom, unannounced, at my door, holding a casserole dish like that made it civil. You humiliated her, she said, eyes bright with accusation. Do you know what you did to her career? Her career? I said. She stopped our wedding to live stream. She was sharing a moment of joy. She was sharing a brand activation, I said. Her lips tightened. She's lost sponsorships. Brands are dropping her. She could sue you for damages. For what? I asked. Walking away from my own wedding? She didn't have an answer, just a teary exit line. You'll regret this. You're throwing away a woman who loved you. As the door clicked shut behind her, I realized something that should have been obvious months ago. Love doesn't mean letting someone turn your life into their content. It means being present in it. 3 days later, my lawyer called, half amused, half exasperated. You've officially been sued, he said. She'd filed a small claims case for $8,200. Breakdown: $6,000 for her half of the wedding costs, $1,200 for emotional damages, and $1,000 for lost influencer income. My lawyer laughed so hard he nearly choked on his coffee. She can't sue you for leaving your own wedding, he said. Judges don't hand out refunds for heartbreak. Still, I had to show up in court. That part stung. The idea that our entire relationship had boiled down to line items on a spreadsheet, pain monetized, humiliation invest. Meanwhile, her public persona kept crumbling. Her follower count dipped by 15,000. Comments shifted from sympathy to skepticism. Maybe put the phone down next time. Girl, he dodged a ring light. She posted more tearful updates about healing through hate and finding strength after betrayal, each one less convincing than the last. Her maid of honor ghosted her. Bridesmaids unfollowed. Even her brand partners quietly disappeared. The irony? I didn't lift a finger. All I did was stop participating in the performance. And without me as her leading man, the script fell apart. But behind that satisfaction was something darker, a kind of grief. Because I wasn't just mourning a ruined wedding. I was mourning the version of her that once looked me in the eye instead of into a camera lens. And the version of me that kept believing she'd eventually come back from behind the screen. Court day came faster than I expected. She arrived in a cream suit, camera ready, like the courthouse was another backdrop. Her dad was with her, eyes full of that misplaced pride people wear when they think charm can bend rules. Her lawyer, some influencer defense specialist, argued I'd breached an implied contract of emotional partnership. The judge blinked. He what? My lawyer stood, calm as gravity. Your Honor, the plaintiff stopped the wedding ceremony to live stream to her followers, despite prior agreement not to use phones during the vows. My client walked away from a disrupted event, not a marriage. The judge turned to her. Did you interrupt your wedding to use your phone? She fidgeted. It was less than 5 minutes, and I was sharing a meaningful moment with my community. So, yes? A pause. Yes. The gavel dropped like a gunshot. Case dismissed. She cried. Her father looked like he wanted to argue, but even he knew better than to cross a judge. My lawyer patted my shoulder. Told you, he said. Outside the courthouse, she chased me down. Please, Adam, can we just talk? Really talk? I stopped. The air felt heavy, like the pause before a storm. I'm in therapy now, she said. Working on my phone addiction. I see it. I know I messed up. I'm glad you're getting help, I said. But we're done. Because of one mistake? Because you couldn't be present for the one moment that mattered most. She didn't have an answer for that. Just tears. And for the first time since walking down that aisle alone, I didn't feel anger. Just clarity. Life after the courtroom felt strangely quiet. No notifications, no drama, just the hum of my fridge and the occasional buzz of my phone reminding me that silence can be a kind of healing. I tallied the costs one night while eating takeout on the floor. Wedding deposit? Gone. Lawyer fees? $1,200. New apartment deposit and first month's rent? $2,400. The vow frames? $850. Total, $10,450 to reclaim my peace. Worth every penny. I hung my vow frame on the wall above my desk, not as a memorial, but as a promise to myself. The words were still true, even if the audience had changed. I'd written about patience, partnership, and showing up when life got dull. Turns out, I was the only one who meant them. Meanwhile, her downfall was slow but steady. Brand deals evaporated, followers dwindled, and she started posting cryptic messages about rebirth and new beginnings. A few months later, someone told me she'd picked up a retail job. Her spin was getting back to my roots. Translation: the sponsorships stopped paying. One afternoon, her dad texted me. She's falling apart. Be the bigger man. Talk to her. I replied with 3 words. I already did. I wasn't cruel. I just finally understood something I should have known a long time ago. Some people mistake attention for love, and when you stop giving it, they call it betrayal. But it isn't betrayal. It's survival. 3 months later, my apartment stopped feeling like a crash pad and started feeling like home. Small kitchen, creaky floorboards, sunlight that hit my coffee mug just right at 8 a.m. I even started dating again, a woman named Mara from a friend's board game night. No filters, no followers, no script. Over coffee, she asked. So, what happened with your last relationship? I gave the short version. She stopped our wedding mid-vows to live stream. Her eyes widened. During the vows? Yep. And you just walked out? Yep. She laughed, real, unpolished laughter. Good for you. That sound, more than any therapy session or legal victory, felt like closure. My friends called it the wedding that never was. My mom called it dodging a lifetime subscription to chaos. I called it a reset. I started sketching again, designing buildings that looked like they could breathe. It reminded me who I was before the hashtags, before the sponsorships, before the constant need to perform happiness for an audience that didn't exist in the room. Every so often, I'd catch myself glancing at her vow frame still buried in my closet. I thought about mailing it back, or burning it, or framing it next to mine like some artistic metaphor about love and irony. But then one morning, I knew exactly what to do with it. I dropped her vow frame off at a local craft store, the kind that sells yarn, watercolor kits, and hope in tiny bottles. Told the clerk, "Someone else can use it. Maybe make something new out of it." She smiled and said, "Fresh starts are underrated." Driving home, I realized that's exactly what this was. A fresh start that came wrapped in chaos, cost $10,000, and taught me the most expensive lesson of my life: presence is priceless. I kept my own vows up on the wall, not as a reminder of her, but as a blueprint for whoever comes next. Because I still believe in marriage. I still believe in love. Just not the kind that needs Wi-Fi. A few nights ago, I got a text from an unknown number. It was her. "I don't know if you'll read this, but I'm sorry. Really. I see it now. What I did, what I lost. I hope you're happy." I stared at it for a long moment, then locked my phone and went back to my sketchbook. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't angry, or sad, or even nostalgic. I was just, okay. A week later, I ran into someone who used to follow her content, a videographer from the venue, packing gear at another wedding I was attending for a friend. He recognized me instantly. "You're that guy," he said, almost sheepish. "Yeah," I said. "The runaway groom." He grinned awkwardly. Man, when that clip hit the private vendor forums, we all swore it had to be staged. Nobody believed it was real until her live replay got taken down. I didn't even know it had leaked that far. He told me someone had screen recorded it, her talking to the camera while I quietly walked out of frame. A moment of perfect irony preserved forever. Apparently, the comments section had turned on her after that. People started saying things like maybe he didn't leave, maybe she did, mentally. I didn't respond. Just wished him luck and went back inside to the wedding reception. Watching two people slow dance under warm lights, phones forgotten, friends laughing offbeat around them, it hit me like air after being underwater. That's what it should have been. Not perfect. Not performative. Just real. Later, Mara slipped her hand into mine. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded. "Yeah. I just forgot what normal looks like." She smiled. "Well, remember it." And for the first time, I wanted to. A few nights after that wedding, I found myself standing in my own studio, staring at the city lights through the window. I wasn't thinking about her anymore. I was thinking about the quiet. About how, for the first time in years, I could actually hear my own life without a filter on it. I'd started seeing a therapist, something I should have done long before the wedding fiasco. She asked me once, "When did you stop being present in your own story?" It took me a full minute to answer. "When I started editing my life to keep up with hers," I said. And it was true. Every time I let her film dinner, or asked me to redo a laugh for the camera, or pause a real moment to capture a fake one, I chipped away a piece of myself. Until I was more image than person. Now, I was getting those pieces back. The studio wasn't much: small desk, a single bed, a shelf full of models and sketches, but it was mine. And it was real. I got an email that week from the photographer who'd shot the wedding. Subject line: unclaimed photos. Inside was a Dropbox link and a message: "You never downloaded your gallery. Figured you might still want it." I clicked it. There were 100 photos of her, radiant in her gown, smiling at her phone. Not one of me. I closed the tab without saving a single image. That chapter was over. 2 months later, I drove back to the venue, same place, different day. My best man was getting married, and he'd asked me to stand beside him. When I pulled up, I half expected to feel something: bitterness, déjà vu, the echo of a car engine idling while I ran. But there was nothing. Just sunlight over the vines, laughter spilling from the open courtyard, and a calm that settled in my chest like closure finally had a seat. I helped him straighten his tie before the ceremony. He caught my reflection in the mirror and said, "You sure you're good being back here?" I smiled. "Yeah. Feels like finishing a story I didn't write right the first time." When the bride walked down the aisle, no one held up a phone. No filters, no live stream, just two people looking at each other like the world could wait. I realized then that love doesn't need an audience, it just needs witnesses. The real kind. After the reception, Mara found me sitting under a string of lights, sketching the chapel from memory. "You're quiet," she said. "I'm thinking about how endings can happen in the same place as beginnings," I said. She smiled, took my hand, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was watching my life from a screen. "Not final. I'll wait for your cue to do the true ending." About 6 months later, I got a letter, real paper, not email, not text. Postmarked from her hometown. The handwriting was careful, like she'd rewritten each line a dozen times. "Adam, I've been off social media for 3 months now. I'm learning to live without constant validation, which is harder than I expected. Therapy's rough, but it's helping. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted you to know I finally see it. The moment I lost you was the moment I looked at my phone instead of your face. I hope you're building something real. You always were the one who could." I read it once, folded it neatly, and placed it in the back of my sketchbook, somewhere between unfinished drawings and old receipts. Not to keep it close, but to keep it contained. That night, Mara came over with takeout and wine. We ate cross-legged on the floor, trading stories about the stupidest things we'd ever done for love. I told her mine. She laughed, not cruelly, but softly, like she understood that sometimes people have to fall apart publicly before they learn to live privately. Before bed, she said, "You're not angry anymore, are you?" "No," I said. "I think I just finally learned the difference between attention and affection. The kind of lesson you only get once." A year later, I was back at the same bench outside the venue cafe, sketchbook open, coffee cooling in the wind. The vines had grown thicker, the building brighter, and me, different in ways that didn't show on paper. My life had finally gone quiet in the best sense. I had clients who trusted me, a woman who looked me in the eye when I spoke, and mornings that didn't start with a notification chime. The noise that used to fill every space, the hum of her phone, the applause of strangers, the self-doubt echoing inside me, was gone. What replaced it was something better, stillness. Every now and then, someone online would message me about that video. The clip still exists somewhere, shared in private circles, a bride talking to her followers while her groom walks quietly out of frame. I don't try to get it taken down. It's not shame anymore. It's evidence that I finally understood what I was worth. Because walking away didn't make me bitter. It made me honest. People always ask if I'd ever forgive her. I think I already did, in the act of leaving. Forgiveness isn't always about letting someone back in. Sometimes it's just putting the past down and refusing to pick it up again. Last week, Mara and I went to the beach at sunset. No cameras, no filters. She leaned her head on my shoulder, and for a second I caught our reflection in the tide. Two people, small against a big world, perfectly unrecorded. She said, "You ever think about that day?" "Sometimes," I admitted. "But not the way I used to. I don't see the disaster anymore. I see the moment I finally chose myself. The waves rolled in, simple, endless, unbothered. I closed my sketchbook, slipped my hand into hers, and watched the horizon swallow the light. That's the thing about walking away, it doesn't mean you lost. It means you stopped standing in the wrong spotlight. And sometimes, when I drive home at night, I pass by the old venue just to see its lights shimmering through the trees. There's always another couple out there, holding hands, whispering vows, believing in forever. It doesn't make me bitter, it makes me hopeful. Because somewhere between heartbreak and healing, I realize that love doesn't need to be loud to be real. The quiet kind, the kind that doesn't ask to be filmed, is the kind that lasts. And maybe, just maybe, that's the story I was meant to tell all along.